In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why you get fatter every time that you diet and why you weigh the same that you did 10 years ago, but you look worse, and how exactly to stop this cycle. You've done this 4 times. Each time that you cut, the weight comes back, and it comes back a little bit easier with a little bit more fat. And that's not bad luck. It's not age. It's the system that you have. And I know you know the feeling. The same number on the scale, but you literally look softer, rounder, weaker, and you did everything right, but you still ended up worse than where you started. I'm gonna show you the exact mechanism of why you're in this spot and how it's preventable and reversible. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the fat overshoots and the one variable that controls how bad it gets, and how to reverse it so this next cut that you do actually sticks. My name is Noel Nolm. I'm a pro football player for the Toronto Argonauts. I was a D1 wide receiver and 2-time team captain at Eastern Washington University, where I played 6 seasons of D1 football. And I founded Make It Happen Coaching, where I run high performers through this exact method, our method of metabolic priming. I'm going to show you exactly what it is that we do, the science behind why you are where you are, and we're just going to jump right into it with these graphics. As you guys can see here, we've got our client here, Austin, shredded in the best shape of his life, using this exact same method. You can see he was soft. He was not in his peak when he got on the program, and we ran him through this, and we got him in the best shape of his life. So why does this happen? So you get into a cut. You understand a calorie deficit. You've done it before. The reason that it comes back so much faster is because of a couple different variables. When you diet hard, like I said, your fat's going to come back fast. Muscle will come back slow, because a lot of us, when we do get into a cut, if you're not doing it the right way, even if you are doing it the right way, the most fat percentage that you can lose in a cut at one time is 80%. So about 80% of the weight that you're losing is fat, 20% is muscle. So the muscle is going to come back a lot slower, but that's going to be so important for a fat loss and for you to look great. Obviously, muscle is everything. That's what we want. The biggest thing that's also going to make you be in a really tough spot is that your hunger is not going to switch off until that muscle is back. So the muscle takes longer to come back, and the hunger is going to be really tough. Those hunger hormones like ghrelin, like leptin, they're going to be messed up. So you're going to feel like you need to eat a lot. That's going to lead you to be in a surplus. And you know what's crazy? Those hormones, more than anything, are psychological. But it all comes back to the strategy you're doing with your eating. So after you die, your body is looking to rebuild that muscle that you lost. And like I said, the only thing that it knows how to do that is by eating food. Now, here's the trouble, is that when you eat all that food, like I said, what refills faster? It's the fat. The hunger is going to keep going. Even though you're gaining fat, and then you're gaining the exact same weight until your muscle is back, that hunger will not go away. So this is where people eat right past the point where the fat is already returned, and then you're going to overshoot. And there's researchers that have called this collateral fattening. And so there was a huge 2021 review done by it, and it's all built on this classic data of showing, the starvation, the famine effect, where you get into a cut, your body's response is like, you're not built to be shredded, you're built to survive, right? So it's looking to make you survive. And what does it want you to do? Get that muscle back, but then that fat comes back when you do that anyway. So this means that the amount of muscle that you lose on the cut is going to decide how much fat you're going to overshoot after it. But like I said, this is a variable that you can control, and it's very exciting because this is something like, once you understand it, you'll never be back in this point again. So in the 1940s, this is a while ago, researchers took 36 different guys, and they fed them about 800 calories a day, 800 calories a day. And they did this for 6 months. So they were in a deficit. What did they do? They lost weight. They lost a quarter of their body weight, actually. And then after that was done, they let them eat freely. And those men didn't just return to their old weight. They rocket shipped all the way past it. So they ended up with almost, over 6 pounds more of just fat, 6 pounds more of just fat than they started with. And the detail that is going to show this is that they didn't stop gaining until they rebuilt 100% of that lost muscle. So that muscle really was the thermostat. The fat was just added on after that. And this is not just one study, right? If we look at, there's a couple different ones of them where they produced the same exact findings, the same exact conclusions, where they did, there was one where they did 5 years of, what the wartime rationing was like, right, across 700 different people. And this was left them with over 12 pounds more of fat on average. And that is insane. 12 pounds of fat. That's a lot of fat. And that takes a lot of work to get rid of that. Then the one that's, gives you the best idea, right, is, it's right here, the rat cycling. They put rats through repeated diet cycles. And I know it's the rats, not humans, but they regain the weight twice as fast as the first time. So it took twice as long when they went to go lose it again to lose that weight, which is crazy. And then they regained it 3 times faster after that. So you can see it's just a self-defeating cycle. These are the same animals, the same calories, the same exact protocol that they got ran through, but every diet made the next one harder. So these are things that have been shown, right? And now, like I said, the obvious objection, right, is that maybe dieting doesn't make people fat. Maybe fat people just diet more. I know that's what you're thinking, which is a fair objection. But there is another study I'm going to pull up for you guys. We're breaking every belief here to get you to your goal, because that's what it is. You got to break these beliefs. Super important. The research, this is from the rat study. The research followed 2 identical twins. This settles it, where one twin dieted more over their life than the other. That twin ended up carrying more fat. So the same exact DNA, literally, right? With identical twins, same exact DNA. And then with these different habits, there was a different outcome. And this was an international study that was done. So this is very interesting. And remember, it's not that just heavier people diet more. Off of this, we now know that dieting is doing something. And especially if you're not doing the correct way, if you're quietly trading muscle for fat, if you're not coming out of the diets correctly, that's where we really get screwed up. So, let's just go through one cycle here, right? So let's say you lose 20 pounds, right? And you've been doing this in a deficit, okay? So you lose 20 pounds, say 15 is fat and then 5 is muscle. Then you regain 20 pounds, but now 18 comes back as fat, only 2 comes back as muscle. So you've got the same, and I'll back up a little bit just so you guys can see this. You've got the same 20 off in terms of weight, but you've netted 3 more pounds of fat over muscle. Now that's going to make you look a lot different. If I come out of here really quickly, I just want to show you guys this model that we use all the time. So now let's say, you are the same weight. Look at this though. Look at the difference between having muscle and not muscle. So this is a difference in weight, but you have the same body fat. But I just want you to imagine that 3 more pounds of fat, that's going to really affect your body composition. So we'll come all the way back over here. Now, imagine you run this, right? So this is the first one here on the left, the first staircase that we go down. Imagine you run that 4 different times. That's 12 pounds of muscle gone, 12 pounds of fat added. And the scale never moved. You're still the exact same weight as we can see on the right here. This is where it gets really troublesome, right? You have tried all these things and you like discipline and effort are not the issue. You've done it, but you've never learned how to correctly prime the metabolism so you lose the fat. And then more importantly, how you get lasting results after. And that's through your reverse out. And this is why people, you weigh the exact same weight. Maybe you weigh 200 pounds, 190, 180, 170. But this is why you look worse today at 200 pounds than you did at 210 years ago. And this is why the scale is at the exact same spot. It's a blind spot that you have. But this compounds every single time that you do it. And it's just going to cost more and more muscle. And this is super important because before I show you how to reverse it, I really want to be honest about what this is and what this isn't, because I don't want to oversell this with you guys. This is really the truth, metabolic priming, what we're doing. But like some of these studies, right? These are worst case, extreme restriction, no lifting, uncontrolled refeeding, right? So this is like the maximum damage. And it does raise an interesting point, right? Like what does this look like with people that aren't doing these extremes? And this is the honest claim about it, right? you're not going to permanently break your metabolism, but even even the size of metabolic slowdown is going to be pretty remarkable when you do this. And remember, people are going to say metabolism, and that's what we say as well. But a lot of it comes down to your muscle, but that plays into your metabolism. So losing that muscle, more than anything else, I just want to explain how important that is to you guys and why this is so important. Now, this exact same mechanism that made you fatter can also make you leaner. And it's just the execution of it because your physiology is the exact same, right? So when someone who's lean, a trained person gains weight slowly, as much as half of that can come back as muscle. Now, like we talked, I've already said this, right? In a properly run diet, 80% of what you lose can come from fat. So if you build slow and then you cut smart, you're going to come out of every cycle with a net positive instead of a net negative when it comes to fat and muscle. So about 30% advantage every single time. And this is just strategy. This is it. And this only is going to work. This is the one non-negotiable is if you're lifting, right? Resistance training is going to give you about a 30% net increase. So as we come over here to the protocol, as I walk you guys through this, and exactly what we do. What do we do? What is metabolic priming? You guys have heard on this channel all the time. This is the difference what we do. I want to build metabolic health for clients. This is long-term results, long-term health, the best quality of life. So after a long diet, what we do is we slowly add food back to rebuild to your maintenance. And what we actually do is we build your maintenance higher than it ever was before. The mistake is doing it on a fixed schedule and adding the same amount every week, no matter what. And this is why we don't test, or we don't test. We don't guess, we test. That's our biggest thing that we do here. We look at numbers, we make data-driven decisions because a fixed ramp is going to become a surplus. And what we need to do is have a feedback loop where we allow, right? We add about 25 grams of carbs, hold for 7 days. We'll check your weekly average. We're going to look at energy. We're going to look at strength in the gym. We're going to look at sleep. We're going to look at your waist size. We're going to look at your check-in, your progress pictures. We're going to see if your body's holding on to it as water weight. And if we're stable, we're able to add again. Now, maybe we hold another week before we add. So this is something that you can't just, staircase your way up. But this is the overall principle, right? Now, if we were to, show what this would look like, right? If you're under 2,000 calories of maintenance, you had 15 to 25 grams a week, 2 to 2,600, right? 25 grams, you just keep going up. You're going to also add in 5 grams of fat potentially as well if we're in the second week, which will keep us at the split that we want to be. So we're going to protect our fat floor. But your testosterone is going to be so dialed because we're adding these carbs and adding these fats correctly. So here's the full protocol as just as a base, right? Like it's very individualized what we do, so it's tough to give you a full thing. But what we do is we find that true maintenance, right? We set the protein, we set the fat floor. We never go below 30%, right? 0.3 grams per pound of body weight. And then we're going to add 25 grams of carbs, hold 7 days. If we're stable, if we look at all those different biometrics in our check-ins, so you can just list down all the things that I just said, your energy, your strength, how we're sleeping, our stress levels, our waist size, our progress pictures, all those things, right? If you come back to those are going to be everything that you need to see. And then every second week, and this is very depends on the individual and what we did. Some people we're not going to move fat at all, but some people will add some fat as well. And then when the maintenance is restored plus when you feel normal. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to get into higher maintenance than before. So one thing I want to be really clear about here is that when you run a reverse, 2 to 5 pounds of fat gain is normal, especially when you get so lean. Weight will climb in stair steps. So just be aware. The weight might climb up and it's actually going to come back down. A lot of people that are on our program, they end up weighing less when they're eating more. And a lot of it is that we're getting rid of that cortisol. We're flushing the body. We're giving it the food that it needs to have really good sessions. And we're recovering your T3, your thyroid, your leptin, your ghrelin, all these hormones. So psychologically, you're in a way better place. And then over months, we're also recovering that testosterone. And Well, we have a bunch of other videos on this. If you go look at the channel, there's just so many other things that we're dialing in, right? Because and this is what metabolic priming gets. It gets results like this, guys. And it's just through higher level. And I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have known this if I didn't go through it myself. But this is metabolic priming, right? Most people are just cutting, cutting, cutting. You're getting a net a negative on fat. You're adding more fat. Here we're gonna reset. We're gonna prime. We're gonna get your metabolism higher than it was. Then we're gonna cut. Then we're gonna get back into a maintenance and above maintenance, right? If we come over here, our metabolism is everything when it comes to losing fat. And this is why we have to, like, when we want to get world-class results, we have to work with our BMR. Our exercise, 5%, that's not going to do it. Thermic effect of food. Okay, yeah, we're eating protein that we already know that protein burns more. The thermic effect is 30%. So it's going to burn more calories eating, but it's not going to be enough to get shredded, to get in the best shape of our life. And then the NEAT, right? This is going to go down the more you diet, right? So this is why we got to keep our steps high, and we're really diligent on that. But BMR is everything, and how we do that is through the carbohydrates, is through metabolic priming. And that's the key, right? Like when we look at this, right? It's referring to the manipulation of using carbohydrates to get your metabolism adapted up, right? The physiological response to weight loss, and then to adding more food. So what we do is we literally just add more carbs, and then we get people freaking dialed like this. Like that's it. And we're eating more food, like 1,000 calories more up. And we have all sorts of crazy results like this all over the community that we do. But this is exactly what it is. We prime, we get the fat loss, we maintain, and we get above that maintenance, and we repeat. And people are going to be eating more food than they ever have, because they're not coming off a million cuts for the once in their life, right? They actually have been eating more food. They're priming these different hormones. And now you're not fighting a fight already being in a deficit, already being in a hole. So if this sounds like what you want to do, if you've already just tried over and over it again to get lean, and you've done all these cuts, and it just gets harder every single time, and then you literally are weighing the exact same, but you look in the mirror and you don't recognize what you see, you're soft, you're not in a good spot, then click the link down below. You can go DM me on Instagram, DM me Shred, and we can have a conversation and see if it's a good fit. Or you can just book right in for a call down below, and we'll get you right. We'll get you on a method that has gotten over 100 high performers in the best shape of their life, and you could be the next one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions. Make it happen. Out.